Things are starting to get serious in GameSpot's Greatest Game Series of the Decade tournament. Big contenders like Halo and Red Dead got knocked out of the first round, and some very close victories came out of the second. No time to mourn Call of Duty though, let's take a look at who's fighting who in the Sweet 16. Right off the bat, we've got two iconic third-person action games going head-to-head with Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed. Lara Croft and the Tomb Raider series basically laid the groundwork for third-person action games like Assassin's Creed, whose huge open-world settings, fluid traversal system, and historical sci-fi plot about the never-ending battle between the Assassin Order and the Knights Templar set it apart and helped it earn its huge fan base. But even though Tomb Raider had some arguably mediocre titles this decade, Crystal Dynamics' 2013 reboot reinvented Lara's character and the game's mechanics to remind us why raiding tombs was so great in the first place. Next, we have two beloved RPG franchises, with the beloved post-apocalyptic Fallout series taking on the Final Fantasy behemoth. The Fallout series evolved from its classical isometric perspective and turn-based combat into a first and third-person game with real-time and turn-based combat when Elder Scrolls developers Bethesda took over the series in 2008, and with it brought that unforgettable retro-futuristic style to a whole new generation. Final Fantasy is the series you think about when you think about Japanese RPGs. Currently up to its 15th mainline iteration, Final Fantasy games are famous for their convoluted fantasy and science fiction stories, bombastic FMV cutscenes, and androgynous protagonists. It's East meets West on the RPG front, and only one can advance. You folks have somehow managed to pit The Legend of Zelda against Sid Meier's Civilization. The two series have a very strong history, but couldn't be any different. The Legend of Zelda is one of Nintendo's flagship action adventures, the system seller. The game always involves a protagonist named Link, a princess named Zelda, and a relic known as the Triforce, among a million other things, since everything about that series seems to be iconic enough to pop up in one way or another in every entry. Sid Meier's Civilization is a turn-based 4X strategy series that most of your PC-owning friends have probably lost a lot of their life to. All games in this series are focused around building a civilization into greatness, from the beginnings of history into the present day and the future. It's the game where you can attain victory by either being super cultured, sending a man into space, or dropping nukes on Gandhi. Both Mass Effect and BioShock are going to be fighting for your love in this round. Mass Effect is Bioware's space opera. The third-person RPG turned action game with RPG elements is best known for its morality system, romances, and memorable characters. The series hit a bit of hate with the ending controversy of Mass Effect 3, but let's all try to remember how good this series was as a whole. Remember all those good times with Rex?
Shepard. Rex.
BioShock is the thinking man's first-person shooter, and best known for its strategic combat with plasma powers, environmental storytelling, terrifying enemies that gave the games a twist of survival horror, and plot twists that left people amazed and confused. Oh, and lighthouses. There's always a lighthouse. PC gamers are really gonna hurt over this one. Elder Scrolls vs. Half-Life. The Half-Life series is probably what Valve is best known for other than Steam. The first-person games deal with a silent physicist named Gordon Freeman who has a bad day at Black Mesa, which leads into something much greater. Valve constantly set the bar for first-person storytelling, animation, and AI design with every entry in this series. Now they just need to raise it again, with Episode 3. And I think about these three things: Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim. The open-world fantasy RPG series Elder Scrolls has been a staple in our diets for more than a decade, and its importance and impact can't be understated. Now, who portrays military warfare better, the Metal Gear or Battlefield series? Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear is the butt of all cutscene jokes, but its bar-raising cinematic style, stealth gameplay, and convoluted military thriller plotlines can't be ignored. You know what else can't be ignored? Another player flying a fighter jet into your face. Battlefield's focus on large map and flexible vehicular-based online multiplayer combat is ridiculous as it is unique. It might not have a storyline as gripping as Metal Gear, but there's no denying that the series has been entertaining plenty with its military styling since 1942. Battlefield 1942. The game, not the year. The Souls series, consisting of Demon Souls and Dark Souls, managed to impressively knock Street Fighter out of the bracket, but in true Souls fashion, it's now up against a much larger and fearsome monster, the Grand Theft Auto series. Demon Souls seemed to come out of nowhere and impressed gamers sick of easy games with a terrifying formula that made you learn from and pay dearly for your mistakes. Meanwhile, the GTA games have found success from their formula in mixing great crime drama with genre-defining open-world distractions and mayhem. GTA is one of those series synonymous with video games, for better or worse. And finally, we have a battle of the tortured souls, Max Payne versus the Batman Arkham series. Remedy's third-person shooter popularized the slow-motion bullet time mechanic seen in basically every action game since. Its hard-boiled noir stylings about a man bent on revenge continued last year when Rockstar released Max Payne 3. Meanwhile, the Batman Arkham series by Rocksteady Studios quickly became one of the best comic book games ever this decade, with Batman writer Paul Dini and voice actors Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill helping to create the series that actually made you feel like you were Batman. Voting for the Sweet 16 in GameSpot's Greatest Game Series of the Decade closes on September 5, so be sure to get those votes in. Head to GameSpot.com/Greatest Game Series now, and I'll see you after the dust has settled for the next round.